Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was once invited to a family for a Shabbos meal. When it came time to wash Netilas Yadayim, instead of washing his hands until his wrist, he washed until his knuckles. The halacha is that ideally, lechatchila, one should wash their hands until their wrist. However, b'diavad, one may fulfill their obligation by washing until the knuckles. When the onlookers observed Rabbi Yisrael washing only until his knuckles, they asked him why he was relying on this leniency. In those days, there was no running water. The home he was visiting was on the top of the hill, and the well that supplied their water was all the way at the bottom. Rabbi Yisrael had noticed that it was the job of the hired help, a young girl, to schlep the water from the bottom of the hill to the top. Rabbi Yisrael replied, "I'm not going to be a tzaddik at this young girl's expense. If I wash my hands until my wrist, it is she who will have to schlep more water." The Shemen HaTov notes that the inspiration for this story can be found in this week's Parsha. Avram's tremendous hospitality is on full display. Despite recovering from his recent bris, Avram goes out of his way to invite the three passers-by into his tent. He immediately rushes to prepare meat and bread for his guests. Everything is magnanimous and generous, with one exception. Avram only offers his guests a small amount of water. Why is Avram suddenly stingy? How is the water different from the meat and bread? The Gemara in Bava Metzia notes that Avram had the water brought to his lodging through a messenger, a shliach. When it came to the other food, Avram himself was involved with the preparation, and there was no effort that was deemed too great. However, when it came to the water, it wasn't Avram's comfort that was in question, it was the messenger's. Avram was not willing to inconvenience the messenger on account of his mitzvah. The comfort of his servant was no less important than the comfort of his guests. Avram's hospitality and kindness was never about himself. It was motivated by his view that every person was created in the divine image. This allowed him to never lose sight of the individual and to remain sensitive to the one who is schlepping the water for his guests. Avram's paradigm of chesed is in stark contrast to Lot's hospitality. Living in Sodom, it was very dangerous for Lot to be kind and hospitable. Despite the danger, Lot insists that his guests eat and drink and stay over at his home. Sure enough, when the people of Sodom hear of the guests in town, they converge on Lot's home and demand to have their way with his guests. Lot refuses and tries to negotiate with them. "Take my daughters instead, but please spare my guests." What type of chesed is this? Lot gets so caught up in his hospitality that he's willing to give up his daughters to the ruffians of Sodom. Lot lost the plot. His chesed stopped being about those around him and became about him. This is the enduring message of Avram's chesed, and this is what Rabbi Yisrael understood when he was washing Netilas Yadayim. Our mitzvos, even our acts of kindness for another, must always be done with empathy for the other. To be sensitive, caring, and kind, we need to see every yid as a reflection of the divine. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbos.